Hello everybody and welcome to episode 7 of the Let's Face It podcast. This is my journey with Annette Kelly. This podcast is proudly sponsored by Premier Electrics. Just look in the bio and you see all the information about Premier Electrics. We really appreciate your support, and I think it's fantastic that you are giving back, and it wouldn't be possible without sponsors and stuff, because every week Sean's coming in with a new light or a new camera or something, so it's great. It's great. So thanks to Tony Shivers. I know you're a great man within Antrim GAA supporting us as well as players, so thanks very much and we really appreciate it. But what's the crack, Annette Kelly?
Donal, how you doing? What's the crack? The spelling of Donal's, your spelling Donal's quite difficult. D-O-M-H-N-I-L-L.
It's funny, like whenever I go into the hospital and say like a doctor or nurse comes in, they're like, Domhanal Nugent.
Domhanal. But I know a different Donal, and like your Nugent's very Tyrone-esque. I'm getting Tyrone vibes of you.
Well, my granddad's from Tyrone. A good Pomeroy man.
You're a good lad.
Yeah, I come from good blood.
Very good. So you're half Tyrone then?
Well, granddad probably, it's like a quarter then.
100% Tyrone then.
We'll go 100%. We'll go 100%. But I suppose, for those who don't know Annette Kelly, probably, well, I think everyone probably knows who you are, especially within the Instagram world and stuff like that. And like, I don't think there's a day goes past where I don't see someone putting up a story of your wee quote thing on their office or at home or whatever. My cousin Colleen, like every day she's putting in our family group chat of your wee quotes and stuff. So
what's her name?
Colleen. So
Colleen.
Kieran's wee sister.
Thanks,
actually.
Legend. Kieran's wee sister. Legend. Thanks, Colleen.
So there's no doubt the impact that you've made throughout a number of people throughout Ireland and stuff, and I think it's class what you do. We'll jump into what you actually do, not just going about drinking coffee and.
That's it. So a lot of people just think I just swim in the sea and drink coffee and just put up an old quote. But no, probably my main job is a personal development coach. But I'm a former primary school teacher. You're right there, don't. Oh, blooper.
So it's basically like there's no doubt that you have made a massive impact on a lot of lives throughout the country, if not the world. And I just want to know what, obviously you do the wellness within, and you have the little penny thoughts. What does your life look like? What do you actually do?
Well, I suppose that is a question that when I left teaching, Daddy said, what I say you do now? What do you do? Because my identity was a teacher. I was Miss Kelly for 8 years, and I loved my role as a teacher, but I knew there was just something else that was in me that I wanted to teach, and I'm still teaching in a way. So I studied to become a personal development coach, and I love it, and it works very well alongside the likes of little penny thoughts, because the likes of the quotes every day, they're the written word, but then when I go out and do my workshops and work with people and communities and companies, it's the spoken word, and actually getting into a room and talking about our feelings and emotions and our hopes and aspirations. But a big part of why I do what I do is because I wasn't in the greatest places when I was in my 20s. I would have struggled a lot with my mental health, and I as a mental health advocate, I've always been honest about suffering from anxiety and depression, like so many. I know it's very common, and unfortunately it's too common, but it's not. Even though that we've come a long way in terms of, breaking stigma, there's still a lot of people suffering. So yes, I'm about, as a coach, I'm about the prevention, trying to get people, at grassroots level, the likes of children there, talking about their feelings and emotions, so that down the line, they're not bottling things up and then there's a bit of an explosion in terms of what's going on inside. So that's probably where wellness from within was established from. And the 3 pillars of it would be like confidence, resilience and goal setting, because I believe that that's the foundation of my well-being. Prior to delving into coaching, I had to go on my own personal journey of getting myself on the right track in terms of my own mindset, and what helped me was CBT. So cognitive behaviour therapy was just a game changer, and I always encourage people to go to professional support and help, and there's no problem too small. Please don't think that I don't have it that bad, because you never know what it could spiral into. Nip it in the bud if you're not feeling, if it's taking a week, a month, or maybe that the month is leading into a year. We're not put on this earth to be miserable, and unfortunately there's a lot of people suffering at the minute, and that's what I want to do, is try and open up a safe space for people to think, you know what, I deserve help. Not that they need help, I deserve help and support. And you don't have to be in the worst place in the world to receive help and support.
Yeah, and I think that's a massive message, only from my experience, because I used to wait until like my world was nearly ending before I went and seeked help, instead of like trying to keep on top of it. And I suppose, like you're saying about working with kids there, and you do notice it. Like I had the same traits of behaviour from I was a kid up until like my very last day. I suppose even till today, but my last day taking drugs, it was still like the same traits of behaviour, as in like escaping reality and running away from things. Like, but obviously it got more and more extreme as you grow up. But it's still like the same. And you're talking about prevention whenever you're a kid. And they're the kids you're working with now. What does that look like in terms of, is it trying to get them to talk more about their problems, or is it nearly like, if this happens, this is what you do?
Not
or
even talking about problems, because sometimes young children can't actually express their problems, or they don't really know what's the matter, or what's the issue as such. But what I would be into with children is learning relaxation, techniques and tips, and I would like take a person in with me that is qualified in that area. That's not my area. We would do like belly breathing, and like there'd be yoga and things like that, relaxation tips. But for me, what I would do with the young kids in my care would be, exploring emotions. Yes. And how all emotions are valid. That we don't have to be happy all the time. And that if we are angry or if we are sad, well, how can we express it in a way that, isn't harmful to other people, but getting it out and explaining, and it's difficult because, sometimes big emotions can't fit in wee bodies. Yeah. But as we grow older, them emotions are still there. Anger still can be there, guilt can still be there, shame can still be there. And if we don't actually face it, it's going to come out down the line. Yeah. And that's for everybody, whether you suffer from a severe trauma or not, because it depends on your resilience. Some people have inbuilt maybe coping skills, and maybe some people don't. But I believe that and anyone who comes to me, no matter what age, whether you're 4 or 94, I'm all about all emotions are valid. And, we should be able to listen to each other and not, we live in a society of, oh, don't worry. Yeah. Oh, it'll be grand. You know what? Do worry. It may not be grand because, we're so, we can sometimes brush big emotions under the carpet, but sometimes that carpet has to be lifted up, and what's underneath. So I'm all about getting to sometimes the root cause, to help, lifelong healing, if that makes sense.
No, totally. And do you think, because you've been on your own journey, this helps you do what you're doing?
100%. If I didn't, go through what I went through, I wouldn't have maybe the insight of the pain and the darkness, and that's what drives me forward. Some people might just see me on Instagram and they might see the highlights, but I know this came, like Little Penny Thoughts was born out of darkness. It wasn't born out of rainbows and butterflies. And I'm not a positive Penny, as some people like to nickname me. Penny? All the time in emails, and I'm like, oh dear, hey Penny, I'm like, Penny Kelly, just there's not a vibe, like, you know what I mean? So no, I'll just stick with Annette. Maybe give me Annie. I'd rather Annie Kelly than Penny Kelly. But it's one of them things. My pain led me to my passion, and now I'm living out my purpose. Is every day great? Absolutely not. But I claw for the optimism, I claw for the positivity. I try and see the good within myself and in others. And sometimes that's really difficult because it's easy to pick flaws in yourself and also to judge others. So that's what I'm journeying with at the minute. But my self-talk and how I treated myself was a massive reason why I hit rock bottom. But I don't call it a breakdown, I call it a breakthrough, because when I hit rock bottom, the only way was up. And unfortunately, no matter how many people tried to help me, I had to help myself, and that's the hardest part, and when someone says to you, you need help, that doesn't really help, because you think that's an attack on you. But when you say to yourself, I deserve help, or I'm worthy of help, I'm worthy, I deserve to be happy, then you take the steps yourself, and that's empowering. And I'm sure, Donald, that's you hit that point in your life where you're like, no, this is, I have to take my life by the throat here.
Big time. And funny you say that. And like the course, obviously, like Sister Concilia wrote was obviously like
she's a
100
legend.
years ago, and a lot of the stuff that Sinead does and a lot of stuff that you're doing is the same, but it's obviously modernized. Do you know what I mean? But one of her like mantras was like, you're looking in the mirror and always tell yourself like, I'm good. I was always good. God made me good, and it's nearly the same
Like,
concept.
when
you
you
know?
were born into this earth as a wee baby, right? You were born with, like, you know, that, you know, just the innocence and the purity of a wee baby. And it's what happens during the course of your life that can cause us to like numb ourselves with alcohol, numb ourselves with drugs. And, you know, a big part of, you know, my thing with the likes of my, you know, mental health was confidence. And confidence can't be bought. You're not going to find it down the bottom of a bottle, and you're not going to find it by, you know, other things as well. But because these things are maybe easy access now, and this is, I just, you know, I really do plea to young people or anyone of any age that if, you know, if you're addicted to a substance or addicted to alcohol, then what is that behaviour telling you, maybe, of what that you can do in the sober light of day, you know, to better yourself? Because it's just a cycle of shame.
Big time.
And guilt, and the fear. We've all been there with the fear.
Yeah.
You know, especially, you know, in terms of alcohol. I try to limit it, but sometimes I don't. But it depends on maybe the setup or the function or whatever. But I know that, as Mummy always says to me, less is more.
Yeah.
You know, but sometimes you think that's just her nagging you and be like, oh, less is more. But she's right, less is more. And, you know, everything in moderation, including moderation. But some people can't do moderation. So the likes of yourself, I have such admiration for you being like, do you know what, you're how many years sober now?
3.
Like, that is that not the achievement of your life?
No, it's the best thing I've ever done. Do you know, it's unbelievable. And
the clarity you must have now.
And it's funny you mentioned that about energy and stuff. Like, see the energy whenever you're caught up in addiction in them circles, like constantly running and chasing and people pleasing or telling lies or manipulating people or like all this madness going on, letting money off him but giving it back to him, and then it's crazy. And the amount of energy, and like, you have to be smart enough to do all that, to keep all that going, right?
Yeah,
So you think about it, whenever you come out of all that, the amount of energy then you can put into your own life, as you say, like a breakthrough, it's unbelievable.
It's
like
a break,
the clarity,
that's what it is.
it's class.
It's a breakthrough, and you're owning your story.
Yeah.
And you're owning your story in the hope to inspire others that maybe in similar circumstances to know that, no, this doesn't have to be your story. You can change the script. In fact, you can close that book, right?
Yeah.
And start a new one. And it's never too late to change, and it's never too late to be who you want to be. And I spent too long in my 20s not appreciating myself, maybe not liking how I looked, not liking my personality. And now in my 30s, you didn't even gasp there, I'm in my 30s.
Even though you
Big
have the
shock.
80s vibes.
The 80s vibes. Are you not shocked?
I am
my
shocked,
30s?
yes,
Yeah,
I'm
thank
shocked,
you,
sorry.
Thank you, sorry. You tell that to your face, don't you? Well, anyway, the likes of in my 30s now, I'm like, do you know what, Annette? Just embrace who you are, flaws and all, because at the end of the day, there's not one person's perfect in this world, and life is far too short to be at war with yourself, and I don't want to go back there. I don't want to. That's the road to no town. See that, like, self-critiquing and, you know, hating yourself and ripping yourself apart. It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of my energy, and I wouldn't do it to someone that I love. So why am I doing it to myself?
Yeah, that's powerful. And you mentioned the word confidence there.
Confidence
is massive.
It's the fundamental basis of my well-being.
Yeah.
If I feel confident, I'm going to walk into a room and not feel as if I'm judged by other people. I'm going to walk into the room as Annette and just be Annette and be like, well, Donald, what's the crack?
Yeah.
Instead of being like, what's Donald thinking of me? Does he think my outfit's weird or groovy? What do you think, weird or groovy?
Weird and groovy, but I like it.
But
You know what I mean?
But do you know what I mean? So many people care of, like, the way people, you wear your hair, wearing this and wearing that. And do you know what? I met Paul Galvin recently, and he was speaking at a function that I was speaking at, and he just blew me away about how he was ripped apart for his style so many years ago. Like the skinny jeans and just the chinos, and that's just all just he was quirky and he owned his style, but he says he was like really, he was ripped apart by people that were judging. But sure, now everyone's wearing like skinny jeans, whatever. Or it's the same as maybe like girls years ago, if you thick bushy eyebrows like I did, you might get the head, you know, like the piss taken out of you. But sure, now bushy eyebrows are all in. Like who's laughing now?
You have the upper hand. No, but I think...
You great brow game strong too, don't you?
think so?
Yeah, great brows.
I don't work on it. I don't work on anything, to be honest. I don't even brush my hair in the mornings. But I'm just...
Do you?
I just do me, yeah. But I think confidence is I'm the same. Like, it's... Even when I'm going doing talks and stuff, there is that wee chimp in my head telling me I'm not good enough, or when you're going playing... I was talking to Mick Conlon about this too.
Yes.
And he was saying, like...
Was he sitting here?
He was sitting here.
Class.
There's been a few...
Who else? Who else been sitting here?
Who else has been here? Mick Conlon, Paddy McDonald, the comedian.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
I love him.
That's his brother, actually.
No way. Nigel? I love him. No, Paddy Rafferty.
That's Paddy Rafferty. No, Paddy McDonald, come on.
Yes, I know Paddy McDonald. I always get mixed up in their names. Sorry.
Kevin Ajargo, the boxer.
Deadly.
He's good. And then Cal's coming in after you, Cal McShane.
Good throne contingent today.
But Sinead Haggerty was in.
Another great throne woman. He loves the throne
central, isn't it?
But you know what? Like, honestly, confidence for me isn't the ability to public speak. It isn't being the loudest in the room.
Yeah.
It isn't being the funniest person and the most charismatic. To me, confidence is just knowing what you're about, knowing what you like, knowing what you don't like, and being true to yourself and your values. The most confident people I know aren't loud, you know, out there public speaking, and or maybe not on social media. They just have this authenticity about them, and they're so happy within themselves because they know what they're about, and they also surround themselves with good people, and that's so important. Your vibe attracts your tribe. Do you know what I mean? And if you're hanging around with people that are not of your energy or the qualities that you want to be within yourself, then you're going to go down a slippery slope, such as, you know, take part in different activities that maybe you don't want to take part in, and that's where peer pressure can come into. But if you surround yourself with good people that, you know, you're good for them, they're good for you, it doesn't mean that you're perfect and you're great people. It means that you're just attracting the right people that you need in your life to support you on your journey. And that's important for the likes of you, Donal.
Of course, in AA it's a big thing. People, places and things, like, you know.
People, place, things. What's the motto?
What?
The AA motto. It'll come to me. But even that prayer, the serenity prayer, the courage, you know.
God grant me the sanity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, which is powerful.
Powerful. Whether you're of faith or not.
Yeah.
You know, and faith is very personal till everybody, and it's very different to everyone. But you know, to me, it's a big basis of, you know, why I believe that I'm put on this earth for a purpose.
I'm the exact same, and I think like the cards and stuff that I was dealt personally, like, right, this is what's happened, and I did feel sorry for myself, and you do get that self-pity, and you go through the hardship, and then when you have that breakthrough, I think that's the word of the day, that breakthrough, automatically you have a purpose. Automatically then you do want to stick with the winners, because you want like them people who want to do well, like-minded people who want to push on. I think that is so important.
And you know what? Some people don't believe that they belong around certain people, such as the winners. Yeah. So people say, you know, about the table. Look, who you sitting? So if life was a table, right? Who's sitting around your table? And someone said to me, "Oh, I'd love to sit around this table, but I don't think there's a space for me." And I says, "See that wee disposable chair there, that wee foldable chair, not disposable, foldable chair, pull it up. There's room for everyone. If you step up, you know, to your power and to your energy, I believe that you're deserving." And because at the end of the day, who are you to say that you're not worthy to be around good people? And, you know, misery attracts misery. Fact. I've been there. I've been, you know, and now I just try and keep, it's not even about quantity, it's quality. The quality of the connections you make with people. It's not even about having a big group of friends. Sometimes it's individual connections. I have definitely a core group of friends for sure, and I'm so grateful for them. I love them all so much. But I have my wee pockets of friends too that are my people.
Yeah.
And I call them the true blues, you know? True blues.
But I think that is so important, and I can
Yeah.
think of like obviously with the circles we're involved in, and then when I'm in the GA, you're always surrounded by loads of people. But off the top of my head, I can think of this one person who I just go to with everything, and having that is really, really powerful.
What type of qualities does that person possess?
Just trusting.
So trustworthy?
Yeah. I think that's the main thing. Just a decent fella who doesn't care about putting stories up on Instagram or tagging in with. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people would I didn't even know you were mates. Do you know about me and him? A lot of my mates would say that, and I'm like, we've been mates for we've been with each other every day since.
I thought you said didn't know where mates. Where is he?
No, but even like the day I was going to rehab for example, like he was at my granny's with me and all before I went. Do you know, like, and there are the wee things you don't forget. You know,
he just stepped up for you when maybe other people stepped out.
Because people do be afraid whenever people have problems, and that's actually I was thinking driving down the road this morning talking about this. When someone does say come to you with a problem, right, and you get a lot of that. And the whole idea of Let's Face It is to try and like get that conversation out there, to get people talking, to try and normalise that it's okay not to be okay. I know it's a cliche, but it's when someone does come to you, right, and be like, let's just say me, and I'm struggling here. What would you do?
Listen. Say nothing and listen. Let them talk. I know when I was struggling, the more people said, the more it clouded me, and even probably one of the worst thing that anyone could say is, what's wrong? Yeah. What's wrong? Because you don't know what's wrong. It's a feeling, it's emotion, it's a darkness that veils you. So therefore, see the people that just was there and listened, and sometimes visited me when I didn't want visitors. Yeah. They know who they are. Oh God, love them. There wasn't much talk out of me, and I'm a talker, but they stepped up. And I just think that there's a lot to be said for just someone being there. And we don't have the words when someone's going through grief, trauma. Sometimes just being present is more than enough. But it's funny when you talk like about rehab there, drying out. People like there's such a thing to say. Oh, he's away to dry out, or check. It's rehab's very Americanized or something. What would you like to read? Funny for him? Isn't that just horrendous? Or he's sectioned.
You know
what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? Like there's such negative connotations till someone actually making the best decision of their life, which is, and the bravery and the courage that it takes for any man, woman, or child to seek help is just unreal. How would you like to change that narrative? And so if you were to describe the likes of Sister Concilios to someone that knows nothing about it, but maybe it's an option for them.
Which I have now in the last 3 years loads of times. Like at the minute I have 2 or 3 lads who not I've been working with, but I've just put on the Concilios and stuff in there, and then I've one in the AFI we were talking about. But whenever I first heard of Concilios, I had it loads from all sorts of directions, like you need to get help, you need to do this, and I'll show you drinking, like, you know, that type of thing. Always so in denial about me having a problem, but whenever I first found out about Concilios, it was like a place in Uri where loads of nuns work, and it's really scary, and it's all this like the whole stigma behind it, and I'm like, what? So anyway, I found out about it, and I found out that the likes of Oisin McConville had been in like some GA people, and I was like, it couldn't be that bad, so I phoned up and admitted myself and whatever, and
good for you.
It totally transformed my life. I'm not even like, see if anyone who's, I would love it not to be an addiction centre. I would love it to be like somewhere for people to go to like build themselves, or
like a healing centre nearly.
Like build a relationship with themselves, or like, do you know,
get to know yourself.
Get to know yourself
centre.
Aye, something like that. I just think that the whole, like, even religion, like I do have my faith. Some people don't. So whatever you want to believe in, you believe it. Like I totally get that, but. I think there is too much of a scary sort of, that's where, like, an alcoholic, for an example, I always thought an alcoholic was someone who was just laying Castle Street in Belfast city centre. And whenever I did go there, I realised that, yes, I'm an alcoholic and a cocaine addict, but it doesn't pick and choose who then.
No, there's nobody exempt.
Do you know what I mean?
There's nobody exempt.
All sorts of, all walks of life in it, and like teachers, even county players, whatever, barristers, principals of schools, like. And it would scare you. And I just think that the place, and I've tried to do it in the last 3 years, is try to not get it. Put it on the map, make it more accessible for people, make it more
and
like normalise it. Yeah,
That's
because
and make
so,
it an option for people to actually, change their lives for the better. Can I ask what age you are?
So I'm not 30. So you're going to pretend.
So you're younger than 30.
I'm 25.
Sweet above. So you're 25. So essentially, your life's just begun.
Literally.
Right? How lucky are you that you're not 60? Not that it's too late to be 65, by the way, but this could have been the pattern of your life.
No, but and you're talking about generations there at the start.
Yeah.
Imagine bringing it into another family, which happens all the time. You know what I mean? Like addiction goes into another family and then it goes in, and then it ruins. It has that cycle. So that's the way I looked at it too. Was
there ever a time that you thought, "Oh, I'm too young for this to be happening to me. Surely this happens just to old people."
All the time. See? Like literally, I always compared, and the worst thing you can do as an addict is compare. Because, or anybody I suppose, and you're talking about the table there, about people, everyone sitting at the table. Do you like that?
That's a funky table.
I actually got 2 of them.
Like a sigh.
Where did I get them? I forget where. Oh, my Uncle Ian boils home furniture and he'll sort you out. But you're talking about the table, and let's say there's 12 people in a room and we all put out our problems. Like they'd say, you soon take your own back because you don't realise what other people are actually going through. True. But at the same time, by me sitting at that table and saying, well, here, and that's been through that, so I'm not as bad as her, I'm way back to the pub, is the work. Like, I used to do it all the time.
Comparison's a thief of joy, and it can really block people from getting help or thinking, oh, they're a bit worse off, so I'll not talk about my problems because they are going through real stuff.
Yeah. Everyone's
going through something, but it's how you deal with it, and that's why resilience and coping skills isn't sometimes inbuilt. And once again, it can't be bought, but it can be taught. So probably going to the depths taught me how to be resilient because I overcame that, so I can overcome anything. Now there are things that I'm afraid of in the future of challenges. However, I know that I have the mindset and the skills in order to cope, and how I would do that is through self-care and like surround myself with the right people and prioritising, my needs on a daily basis. So what would have led me to burnout would have been being a people pleaser and a yes woman. I was in every committee going.
Yeah.
Any committee, I'll be there, I can do it, and Annette will do it, and blah blah blah. And even in a school setup, I was the person that would have even volunteered, even though I didn't have the skills. Like football coach, like what? You know what I mean? But it was terrible. I'm not terrible. I know I wasn't great like a footballer myself, but I was good for an old free, So I'd lie down, because it was a wee bit of just a wee bit of a. It was a wee bit of a, what do you call it, a wee whippet, and
like
then
inside,
I was always the wee girl in the wee corner forward, and I was always marking like a bit like a taller, stronger cornerback. But sure, if she just even nudged me, I would fall. I was great at drama.
So you're a drama queen.
I was drama queen. Yeah. So basically, what would happen was that I would. I can't believe I'm telling you my deepest, darkest secrets. But I'd just been good for an old free. Now was I allowed to take the free?
Definitely.
Absolutely not. No.
That's you subbed off
again. That's it. Do you know what I mean? But and then would have tried my bit at hurling as well. But that didn't work out either. I played one match. And a girl was digging her, what do you call that?
Like the butt of the hurdle.
What is that?
Like the butt, do we call it? Like a shaft maybe sometimes.
Into the hip. And I was like, I was saying, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? She's all like, you'll not get the next ball. I was like, okay, but don't do that. Don't do that to me. And then my manager's like, Annette, one you head off, me trying to reason with her, and we're just like, so I was like, so maybe that tells me that I'm not maybe a competitive person, but I loved being part of a team.
Yes. And
you talk about the GAA. The GAA is the best community, I believe, in the world. I'm a very proud Carrickmore Gael. Oh. My daddy's actually been on the Carrickmore committee since he's been 21.
Oh, really?
And now
I used to go see a boy in Carrickmore, Mackleduff, like a physio
he's a legend,
guy.
Connor.
Brilliant.
Legend.
Unreal.
Shout out to Connor.
He is like a good
He's amazing. Body talk,
yeah,
Connor.
He done a lot with me too, and
he's amazing.
Tough but good.
Yeah, definitely. And do you know what? Carrickmore's great. Have you ever been?
I did, Connor.
Have you ever been to the football pitch?
No, I don't think so.
It's set up, and so does Air Oak.
Right.
Has an amazing setup too. Shout out to Annette Kelly. All these shout outs. Eddie Heckler.
You have to tag them on it. Get the views up. No, but that's class. And Aye, so you mentioned there about being a yes woman and a people
Yes.
pleaser. That's what we were talking about there. Do you think? And I was the exact same. I've only really recently learned how to say no to people or put myself first. I think.
It's not selfish to do that, you know.
No, but do you think that you done that because you were just like constantly running and you weren't comfortable in your own skin, or like?
Probably trying to. You're right there, Donald. Trying to escape maybe a wee bit of reality, and if I'm the busier I am, maybe it'll distract me from
Yeah.
my problems. And my problems weren't external. You know, I in the outset had a great job, great family, great friends, but my internal world was chaos. I hated myself. I cannot believe. I'm so sad that I would even say that, because I even think of like, would you say that to 7-year-old Annette? I hate you. She was so happy. But in my 20s, like there's a lot of self-loathing, but I covered it up by being the clown or the banter queen, or do you know what I mean, the loudest. And like I believe I've changed a lot now. That I would still take part in some of the behaviours maybe that you can't totally change yourself, but I feel more authentically myself. Whereas, you know, say if there's like gossip or anything going on, I don't engage. It doesn't interest me. I don't like hearing bad news about other people. I know sometimes it's just conversation to people, but I'm like, no, do you know what? If I can avoid negativity, I will. It's not always possible, and sometimes I take part in the
Yeah, of
negativity
course.
because we're humans, we're not machines. But I always try and catch myself on judgment, and also catch myself on saying yes too much and not being honest, like with my opinion. So if you say something, like years ago, I agree with you just because I don't want to offend you. Whereas now, if you said something I didn't agree with, I would say, well, I respect your opinion, but I don't agree.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't respect your opinion, I don't know. But it's just, I'm more authentically myself because I feel braver being myself and being more Annette than ever. Like probably I'm more like 7-year-old Annette than 27-year-old Annette now.
What does that feel like?
Freedom, liberating, scary a wee bit, because sometimes I'm coming out with things I'm like, I would have never done this years ago, but now I know like boundaries, even like in the dating world. Like what a shit show that is.
And you,
Sorry, can I say it?
yeah, no.
Sorry,
there's
mummy doesn't like me saying like stuff like shit.
The reason why I'm
sorry,
laughing is because you have the. I don't really bother with it much, to be totally honest, but I see you on your. I'm only getting used to this. Your story, doing videos of the. What do you call it?
Tinder tales.
Your Tinder tales.
Yeah,
You knew what
I know what you're on about. I'm not on Tinder, by the way, because it is a cesspit.
Right.
I do believe it's the most judgmental app.
I wanted to talk to you more about this too, because I think it comes in the confidence word as well, so it sort of like ties in.
I have let so many people shatter my confidence. I'm not crying there, I took a drink of water there. It's like, it sounds as if I was getting emotional, so it's just the water.
But it is okay if you're not.
Oh, so I have let so many people shatter my confidence, but I've let them.
Yes.
Because I've given them the power. But also, maybe I've shattered other people's confidence. I'm not saying, it's a two-way street, and I'm not saying, there's a lot of people saying, oh, men are this, men are that. It's not men, it's not women, it's humans. As humans, we can treat each other like disposable cups. And I have talked about this on different podcasts. Years ago, I feel dating could have been, maybe I'm romanticising it, but you know, it was like a wee china cup, and you were treated with respect, and you were taken care of, and you were looked after. Whereas now you're like a barista bar cup, or frank and honest, just on to the next. Like that's what, do you know what I mean? It's just like you're just disposable. And my brother came out with a clinker to me too. He heard it years ago that we're all paper plates in the banquet of life. Jeez, Paul, that's a bit harsh, is it? But it's true. Like whether it's in business, whether it's in your personal life, you can be just used and on to the next. And I just think that maybe I'm born in the wrong generation when it comes to this whole dating scene. But say Tinder, imagine Tinder was in person and people were walking up to you and you were like, yes, no, yes, no, like it's so mad. Judging by their face.
Yeah.
So you know nothing about their personality, you know nothing about their qualities or their kindness or their personality, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're purely judging by the aesthetic, and I don't want to be judged by my looks. I want to be maybe like get to know me as a person, and I don't believe that can happen through an app. However, there are some lovely stories and successful stories that people have met their match online, because get with it, Annette, it's 2022 and it's a great way for people to connect and meet, but it's also a cesspit, and there's so many options now. You know, there's Hinge, Bumble, Tinder, Raya, plenty of fish, there's a whole load of them. But for me, it's just, that adds to the whole picking and choosing as well, and I just, no, I'm stepping out of that for a while, because that's what maybe knocks my confidence a wee bit, and it's a waste of my time at present. And so some people are like, oh, you're very bitter and negative towards this, but I can only go on my past experience, and it always hasn't been it hasn't been very successful. And then sometimes then I like blame that on me, like, what's wrong with me? And then girls come to me for confidence building, and I can't be a hypocrite, so I have to then step out of that space and kind of think, you know what, maybe that's not meant for me. And people often would say like confidence within dating and putting your power into other people's hands. The thing is, like, if you are secure within yourself and you like who you are and you like what you're about, and you focus on, you know, your likes, your friends, your family, you know, your job or whatever you like to do, maybe you'll attract the right person that will fit in that world, or you'll fit in with their world. But it's not as if you're searching for your other half, because you're already whole. So surely this person is just a bonus. But that's just my, like, I, you know, that's my stamp on it. However, like, a lot of my friends are in very happy relationships and solid marriages, and that gives me great hope that it can happen. But in our generation, I'm going to say our generation, because we're within the 10-year generational gap here. It's very what can I say? I'm trying to get the word. It's just very flippant. Whatever.
It's like dog eat dog, harsh, sort of rat race, like a. And I do feel sorry for people. I do, like, especially, and I spoke about it before about girls and stuff, about, like, obviously it does work, but what about the people it doesn't work for? Like you're mentioning, and you do have, to an element, a toolbox to deal with these sort of confidence things, and you've worked a lot on yourself, so you can kind of deal with, not with someone swiping gets left for neglect or whatever, or they don't. Rejection.
So God, see the likes of online world. Yeah. It doesn't bother me, rejection, but in person, see if you create a bond with someone and you think maybe it's going somewhere, then all of a sudden you're like ghosted or rejected, which has happened. It does, it knocks you because you're human. However, then you pick yourself back up and think, well, obviously, you know, that wasn't meant, and maybe you got a wee bit of a lucky escape. But it's not always easy to tell yourself that, or even other women or other men, because some people are so dependent on other people to value them. You have to value yourself first, whether that's in dating, whether that's in your work life. It's a very, very important message that you value yourself first and value other people and treat others as you want to be treated. And see, if you don't want to be with someone, just be honest and say, we live in a world of people just cheat, no bother, and don't care, but they're breaking other people's hearts and like feelings and no mental health. And I just think that people, women and men, need to really think about their actions before maybe they impact another person's life. And honesty always wins. Might hurt, but it'll always win, because then you don't have to be deceitful, you don't have to cheat. Be honest and then do what you're going to do. Yeah. Because, and honesty will always win. Number one.
Yeah. And and you talk about the validation, I've spoke about it before with people. It's probably my biggest weakness, and something that I'm constantly working on. And with rejection, right? And I'm sorry, I'm still talking about this.
That's good.
Because I think
it makes me uncomfortable, but it's important to talk about. I think the most uncomfortable conversation is the most important.
Yeah. So I definitely, and it's, but this rejection and validation, and it's really, really scary, because people can't deal with being rejected online.
No.
And it makes them, they're sitting in a room, which automatically makes them feel like they have to do even more in terms of taking photos and filters and likes and
See,
then that opens up a whole big different kind of worms.
Thankfully, I have missed that part of where I depend on likes.
Right.
I couldn't give a hoot who likes, who doesn't. I don't even look. And that is the God's honest truth. The most important like you can give is the like you give to yourself, right? Doesn't matter if... But I know men and women that would search their section, you know, their like section to see if that person liked it. Or, and I've been guilty of this, I can be honest with this, is looking at your stories to see who's viewed it. If that one person you want has viewed it, if they haven't viewed it, you think, why has he not viewed it? And that's just absolutely...
And then when that person
French
does view it, is it like boom, success?
It's like if that person views, you're like, yes, he's seen it, which is just bananas. Because like my granny's 95, right? And her generation, she went to a dance, met the love of her life, and had 9 children, and it worked out for her, and it was a very, very happy marriage, and you know, all that there. And I'm not romanticising it, but it was, I believe they were simpler times, as if Granny was checking to see if, you know, her man, you know, was looking at her through the window, like, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Like, when you think about it, even like taking a picture, like, of your food, like your breakfast, like, you would never have taken a picture of your breakfast years ago, developed it, and went round to your friends, like, had this on Thursday morning. But things are so accessible now, we can, you know, really, and that's why I say, Annette, it's 2022, get with it. Don't be bashing social media because you've built a platform on it and a company. However, I'm talking about human connection here. It is skewed and it disturbs me. And being honest, it's probably one of my most honest podcasts, but I just feel very comfortable in saying this, that human connection isn't what maybe it used to be years ago, because instead of people talking, they're texting, they're liking, they're emojiing. Do you see if one more lad sends me a flame emoji? He's getting blocked. Do you know what I mean? Flames.
Yeah.
What is that about?
It's nuts. It's nuts.
Just even how are you in it? Or you know what I mean?
Yeah. Or do you want a not undisposable cup?
Do you want a China cup of coffee for life and that? Are we joking? Like, that might sound so intense. That might sound bananas, right? But however, like I don't mind disposable cups of coffee, like, but just don't throw it over me, like. No, but you know what I mean.
I do get you. I do, and I like 1,000,000% understand where you're coming from. But
and it's not. I'm not. This isn't on men.
Sorry.
It's the bare, and everyone deserves the bare minimum in terms of like just respect, right? And it's not about like, and even that word ghosting's thrown about, right? You know, if you only getting to know someone and they don't really respond to you, that's not ghosting. That's just fizzling out.
Yeah.
But if you've met up with someone, and maybe if you've been intimate with someone or dating someone, and you think it's going somewhere, then all of a sudden maybe you haven't heard from them. And I've heard this from so many girls and men. Then it's like, where did this person go? And then the ghost of Christmas past comes back a few months later, be like, well, how are you? Get that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And would you have any advice for, I suppose we'll go with female. I suppose
female
because like males, like it does obviously does happen. But I can think, and I keep thinking like of my cousin and people like that who I would be relatively close with. And what advice would you have for people like dealing with rejection, or dealing with like thinking they're not good enough, or thinking they have to download an app to like make themselves look better? Probably have heard of this, like different apps and different filters and stuff to take photos.
I just think it's just filters. Everybody knows that follows me that I am anti-filter.
Right.
And I used to be dependent on them years ago on Snapchat. There used to be butterflies coming out of my head, and my chin used to be more chiseled, and my eyes used to be brighter. I can remember using the like them filters and think there was nothing wrong with, but I realised that was a confidence thing. Whereas now I don't want a filter near me. Now, you know, at time I might filter maybe landscape, like photos or whatever, or an odd time use a porous filter. But that's not a thing that I want to work in, because that actually smooths your skin.
Right.
But if I'm ever talking about skincare and things like that, I don't use it. But I'm just being honest, because it is a confidence thing. However, if you're dependent on transforming your face for the online world, for likes, for outside validation, then that's a sign for you to start looking within, being like, right, how can I value myself as I am, with maybe spots, with scars, with maybe not the whitest teeth or the chiseled jaw, and just like embrace embrace your face, because when the person sees you in real life, they're going to see you and hopefully like you for who you are, and then down the line love you for who you are or whatever. But even just being authentically yourself comes from building confidence within yourself. So if you are feeling low on confidence at the minute, you can get support from coaches, or you can go, to like CBT. But you don't have to be suffering from a mental health problem or severe anxiety and depression to get help. That's the message I want to get across too. So, invest in yourself in terms of the inner work. You can go for your eyelash extensions and your nails and your Botox, whatever you want. I'm not judging. Do it if it makes you feel better about yourself, but start from within first, because that's the game changer. Up here is the game changer of how you view yourself, and that's not to judge people that want to look after their looks and things like that, because there's elements of that I do myself. However, my inner work is far more important than my outer work at present.
Powerful, and I think it is so important. And no, it's fascinating. And you mentioned there about self-care at the start, and you do love, well, I don't know if, I'm assuming you love it, like going to like doing cold water therapy on the beach and stuff like that. It is I love
class.
it too. Like literally, like once a week. I should do it more, but at least once a week.
Belfast.
Well, I bring my granny and our Eamon. I don't know why you've seen our Eamon on Instagram. My uncle, he's Down syndrome, and we're like best mates. I love him. But I would bring him up. You will meet him. I take them up to the caravan on Ballycastle every Thursday.
Do you?
So every Thursday evening I would go round to the pier and jump into the water and spend an hour there, and that's my like Thursday evening's my like reset sort of like this is me. Do you know what I mean? Get ready for the weekend or whatever. So,
me and my brother-in-law.
Because weekends can be challenging for me for the drink and stuff.
Oh yes, the drink, because that's when everyone's out and you see it, and then you're going to be triggered. Yes. Oh, get.
But tell me about your.
So me and my brother-in-law Mark, we would often go to Helens Bay. We've kind of like, because we live a bit of a jaunt away, we try and do it at the first of every month. But we've been doing it more regularly over the summer. He's a teacher too, and he's off. And we go there, and we also invite other people that want to come as well. We've, anyone that's up for it, but we love getting up at at 4 o'clock in the morning and getting up for sunrise or something about that bonus time. So not only getting a kickstart to the day, now I couldn't do it every morning, you'd be absolutely wrecked by 11 o'clock, you're like a zombie, but just them magic mornings I would call them. And sometimes the sunrise was pelting off the sea, and you don't want to get in because it's freezing, and you've the adrenaline going. But see, when you get in and your body temperature regulates the water, it's total therapy for me, because I can't be on my phone. Yeah. Human connection, I get to catch up with the likes of Mark there, who are very close. So he's been about our house since, I was like P4, so over 25 years now. So he's like a brother, more so than a brother-in-law. And we catch up, have the crack, and other people could be in the water too. Then we go out with a wee cup of tea, and just watch the sun rise. However, sometimes with the Irish weather, the sunrise isn't there, but it doesn't matter, because the rejuvenation you get from the water, I can't explain it. Someone said to me recently, "You'll enjoy this." It's like, "Oh, you just do that for the gram." I'm like, absolutely. I freeze my bops off for the gram. I get sand everywhere for the gram. Absolutely not. It's not for it's for me. Now I do show it on the gram, because it shows people an activity they can do for their mental health and well-being. I can't describe how it helps relax me, de-stresses me, and rejuvenates me, and it's free. Yeah. The only thing is just like travelling up there, which is 100%, it's so worth it. Yeah. I'd rather go there than, I don't know, it's a great way to start the day, or at any part of the day. Like even this evening, I think I'm doing like a wee sunset one for the crack. I don't know. So we'll see. But I crave the sea at the minute. And obviously I don't live close to one, but I live close enough to be able to travel up when I can.
No, that's class, and I feel the exact same way. And like, some people would always say to me, like, "You're nuts for doing that," and I'm like, "That is the best drug I can possibly get my hands on at the minute." Like, it gives me like a,
like so natural endorphins,
do you know what
natural
I mean?
high.
So like jumping into that water and being freezing and having even the build up to it, even after it and stuff, I just love it. And I would definitely advise people to do it, even though like people do think you're nuts and stuff. But I would advise people.
I want to read out a quote there that actually I wrote after I dipped in the sea for the first time, and actually it is strange because I reposted it today.
Oh.
So don't let your mind talk you out of something that you know is going to be good for you.
Yeah.
So your mind is built for comfort.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Stay warm, stay safe. Go to the bar, have a drink, socialise, but your mind's going to tell you things that you comfortable with and which you habitually do.
It's a wee chimp in your head.
That's a chimp, or with the likes of me, my inner critic's called Geraldine.
Right.
So Geraldine's here, so like, don't get in the sea, you dweeb, people are laughing at you. Wise up, Geraldine. No one cares what I'm at.
Yeah.
Get to France, you know what I mean? Or even coming here today, Geraldine might be saying, what are you going to chat to Donal about? You slabber.
Yeah.
I'm like, Geraldine, way on. Do you know what I mean? But this inner critic or that chimp you're talking about can actually prevent you from doing things going to be good for you. I hope this conversation that we've had today is not only good for you, good for me, but good for people that are listening to it and they'll take something from it. Whether it's going to a healing centre or whether it's going for a dip in the sea, whether it's getting CBT or even talking about your emotions to your friend. Whether you're a man, woman, whatever, just talk.
Yeah. And
talk, and here's me just talk as if it's easy. Talking's one of the hardest things you can do. Being vulnerable is one of the hardest things you can do. But it's the best thing you can do, especially if you're not in the best headspace, because it's the only way to get things out.
100%. And I actually made this point to, I think it was someone last week about going, like I spent like loads of time going and seeing doctors and different people. And some of the best conversations I've had with was someone who actually understands me. So someone who's on the same wavelength and someone who's actually aware of their own feelings. And being aware and having that relationship with yourself, as what we've talked about, is the best relationship you can have with anyone. Like.
Well, just as you say that, the best conversation I had was with my doctor for the first time that I went to him and says, I don't feel like Annette anymore.
Yeah.
And I explained to him his name's Dr. Hearn, legend, also from Carrickmore, obviously, because he's not originally from Carrickmore, but Dr. Hearn, he just understood and was so kind and just listened. And that really broke down the barrier for me to accessing help. And he was the first person that told me about CBT and things like that and explored all different options, medication, CBT. And he took me by the hand, and I'll never, ever forget him for it. I'll never forget my CBT therapist. I'll never forget my family, never forget my friends, and also the lifeline that Little Penny Thoughts has gave me in order to help others. And that's always been my aim. People ask me my why. My way is to help others, to empower others, to inspire others by just simply being me and nobody else. Because what's the point trying to be anyone else? They're all taken, like.
Yeah, and that's class, being your own, being true to yourself too. Like,
yeah.
And being able to look in the mirror and say, like, I actually done well today. And
do you have a favourite quote? Put you on the spot.
No, I do. I'm a big quote man. Like I haven't said this to you, by the way. I may have said it earlier. Like one of the big reasons why I done Let's Face It is because of Little Penny Thoughts, and I think that the work that you do with the platform that you have is unbelievable, and you've inspired me definitely. So
well, that's cool. Like I'm glad that I have had, and thank you for letting me know that.
Yeah, and I thought you should know that because it is, and I think that you've done it to so many other people, like you see girls, but I think me trying to do it from like a male point of view. And that sort of angle is so important because I know what it's like to be lonely and afraid and stuff like that. But
and it's not unmanly to get help.
Yeah.
It's so manly. It's so courageous. It's so brave. It's the bravest thing you can do, and you're gonna pave the way for other men and other young lads too that need the support and help. Deserve the support and help. Because life's to be lived. You're only 25, and now you've this new lease of life. You're going to show other lads that you can too. Yeah,
but if you've one foot in yesterday and one foot in tomorrow, then you're pissing all over today. The precious present.
I love it.
That's I like that one. And then the other one, if you sit in the barber's long enough, you get your hair cut. About the people, places and things, but if you spend enough time with that certain person or in that certain place, then you're going to turn into it.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That is class.
So, but anyway,
That's class. I love it. He's like, where's my pen and piece of paper? I need to write this down.
whenever my cousin's going to open up her thing next year, you'll have like, if you have one foot in your stick, you're pissing all of it.
That's it.
It's like you can put that in, like. But no, that's class. And what, right, little penny thoughts just to finish off with.
Yeah.
What have you anything coming up, or what's the crack?
Absolutely. Well, Wellness from Within and Little Penny Thoughts, they're like sister companies, but Wellness from Within, I'm going to go on the road with it in terms of my workshops, and we're planning a big event for October, so I'll keep you all posted. Can't wait to get that out of there. So it's been a massive ambition of mine.
Class.
Then the likes of Little Penny Thoughts, I work alongside my sister Orla. She's the co-founder, so she is the designer and the creator of the products. And then my brother works along with us as well. We've lots of new things coming out in the hope to inspire and empower others through diaries and calendars and other things in the pipeline too that will be released early 2023. So I'm excited that the brand is developing, and it's probably through perseverance, that wee bit of self-belief and the hope that you're helping others drives me forward.
Class. And I seen you just recently joined with Slice Meals as well.
That's right. Oh, great. A great company. I've been eating Slice Meals for well over a year now, and the one thing missing from a box was a teriyaki salmon. And I just says, here, any chance we could create this? So I went into the kitchen and got a bit creative, and I loved that input, and I love like working with brands and collaborating with brands that I believe in. Yeah. And it's a bonus that they're from Tyrone, you know, yourself.
Right,
support
okay.
your own, like.
We'll keep it in the county.
Keep her local, keep her in the county. Apart from dating.
But anyway, here, thanks very much for having me, or for coming on, and it was brilliant and really fascinating, and no, never changed, because the work that you do for people in our country, and I suppose for people around the world now at this stage is fantastic. Yeah, thanks very much.
So much. Thanks for having me, Donald. Thank you, and all the best with your podcast, and this is only the start for you.
Yes, and a big thanks again to Premier Electrics for sponsoring this episode of This Is My Journey with Annette Kelly. It wouldn't be possible without having different sponsors every week to bring on great guests, and no, it's great. So thanks very much to Tony Shivers for our play, and I'll see you all soon. Cheers.